little tough. I must have talked about that before because definitely in Max Tivoli, there's a lot of passing. He is a different age than he appears to be because he's aging backwards, so he's always pretending to be something else. And his friend Huey is passing, and there's the madam who's trying to change herself. And then the story of a marriage, there's a way in which the book is passing for a while. The main character doesn't reveal things about herself, and a lot of the characters. I think certainly for Max Tivoli, it was very much on my mind for that time period, the turn of the century, 19th to 20th. It seemed like the moment when immigrants could transform out of their own stereotype into an Americanness, and then America was ready to believe them. When a lot of groups were able to do that, but I think there's something kind of sad about it too, to leave all that behind. So I was really experimenting with what was complicated about it, because Max gets to do a lot of things that have his heart's desire, but he pays a great price, and so does everyone around him. It's hard to know. It's a very curious thing. I don't think any of us ever thought there would be a black presidential nominee as of yesterday when we're taping this. But he is not hiding his race in any way. I think something's happening where a lot of people are accepting him on the terms he's talking about. And he's not pretending anything as far as I can tell. I mean, he's a politician, so he's pretending everything in a way. But the line he's drawing is one I'm prepared to stand behind. And a lot of politicians, I just feel like none of it's real. I don't think it would work, you know? I don't think people would buy it if he tried to pretend that race didn't matter. Because that's what he was faced with. He had to give that speech. And he could have said, why are we talking about race? Instead he said, we need to talk about race. And that's what shocked me and really got me behind him. It was a story that my grandmother told me about 10 years ago about herself, in which a friend of her husband's, of my grandfather's, took her for a drive around rural Kentucky, must have been the early 50s, and he turned to her, he stopped the car and he turned to her and he said, Leona, I was your husband's lover in the war, and I'm his lover now, and I want to leave with him, and I want you to help me. And she could not tell me the rest of the story because I think the idea was so crazy and absurd that she just said, let me out of this car, I never want to see you again, and it was all over. She never talked to my grandfather about it, and she regretted all her life that she couldn't have left. But she always told me, she said, I had 2 sons, I'd never had a job, I was a poor woman, I don't understand what I was supposed to do. All the restrictions were on her. And oddly, that's a part of the story I really liked, was to identify with the woman and see how trapped she was. Obviously her husband, my grandfather, was trapped, if it's a true story, which I don't know. My grandmother told a lot of crazy things. But it doesn't matter to me as a novelist. Okay, he's trapped, for sure, we know that. But what made her so trapped and what made her life harder than his in a lot of ways? And that was the story I wanted to tell.